Welcome to the Miami Herald's High School Gridiron Report. I'm Manny Navarro.
And I'm Andre Fernandez.
Week 1 of the playoffs is in the books, and I'm officially better than Andre at picking upsets. I picked Northwestern over Columbus and Norland over Booker T. Washington. How do you like them apples, Dre?
I'm done making mistakes.
This guy's so dramatic. Time to rewind. The Northwestern Bulls took on undefeated Columbus Thursday night at Tropical Park in what clearly was the best first-round matchup in South Florida. We pick up the action in the second quarter, score tied at 7 when Columbus quarterback Wes Keller takes the shotgun snap and finds Jesus Wilson, that is. 44 yards later, it's a touchdown. Columbus would go into the half up 14-7. The Explorers would add to that lead in the third quarter. Here, Keller finds Jonathan Williams on the short curl pattern. How about a little shimmy shake? Williams down to the 19. 2 plays later, Brandon Radcliffe takes the pitch, bounces off a few defenders. 16 yards later, it's 21-7 Columbus. Time to party for the Explorers, right? Not so much. The Bulls would bounce back. Here, Teddy Bridgewater feels the pressure, escapes, and finds Dominic Rhymes. Tough pass in traffic. It's now 21-14. Fourth quarter, Bridgewater says, you know what? I'm going to find that guy Rhymes again. 67 yards later, we're tied at 21. Hey, anybody know where Columbus' defense was on that play? Columbus would eventually respond with a 23-yard Wes Keller field goal, but with 4:15 to play, Bridgewater mounts the comeback. Here he drops back and finds Amari Cooper down to the 1-yard line. That would set up fullback Jarrell Jenkins with the go-ahead touchdown with under a minute to play. Columbus would get one final shot at trying to tie the game, but Wes Keller's 47-yard field goal attempt is short. Bulls escape 27-24 and get some revenge for their regular season loss to the Explorers. Dre, when is Columbus finally going to win a game that actually matters?
Before I get to that, you better go to confession this week. But anyway, it's just unfortunate for them. I mean, it looked like all signs pointed to them finally getting over the hump this week. But you're dealing with a special player like Teddy Bridgewater at Northwestern, and I think it's really unified this team, and they stepped up when they needed to. And here's what wide receiver Eli Rogers had to say after the game.
Through all the adversity we had with our coach, with the player suspension and everything, we just came together and played as one.
Number 1, St. Thomas Aquinas opened the playoffs Friday night against Coconut Creek without leading rusher Jamal Wilson. Thankfully for the Raiders, they've got a few other guys that can carry the ball. Here, Dami Ayula opens the scoring with a 25-yard touchdown run. 7-0 Raiders. Quarterback Jake Ruddock got some work too. Here he finds Philip Dorsett in the flat for a big gainer. That would set up sophomore Fred Coppett on the first of 4 touchdown runs. This one goes for 9 yards. 17-0 Raiders, and we're still in the first quarter. Coconut Creek punting deep in their own territory here, and Rashad Green says, I'll take that. Fields the punt, runs right, and gets a nice double-barrel block from Johnny Joseph. It's now 24-0 at the end of the first quarter. Aquinas wasn't done. Here, Coppett takes the pitch from Ruddock and bounces his way up and over for the touchdown. Aquinas would finish this game with over 200 yards rushing. Coppett would lead the way with 83 yards and only 6 carries. His 50-yard touchdown run here would force referees to start a running clock with 5 minutes left in the second quarter. Aquinas rolls 59-0. It's the 4th shutout of the season for the Raiders, who host Cooper City next week.
Like that double-barreled, they had a quadruple-barreled victory, I mean, from the looks of that. And there could be another one this week, although congratulations to Cooper City, a team that surprised everybody by winning their first district championship, and they get a victory, an upset win over South Broward. How about that?
Yeah, big win for them. All right, time to go back to Dade, where Booker T. Washington took on Norland in one of the best playoff matchups in Class 3A. We pick up the highlights where early on it looked like the Tornadoes were going to roll. Here, Akeem Martindale scores from 8 yards out. 7-0 Booker T. Washington. Norland would answer in the second quarter with a pretty play that didn't start so pretty. Quarterback Benji Phillip bobbles the snap, recovers, and finds Brian Malcolm on the screen pass. 53 yards later, we're tied at 7. The Tornadoes would end up taking a 13-7 lead into the half. Here, quarterback Jeremiah Hay rolls out and finds Martindale for a big gain. Add the penalty and Booker T is in business. Hay would then find Devin Pace from 7 yards out. Booker T's lead would grow to 16-7 thanks to a 23-yard field goal in the third quarter. But the Vikings wouldn't be denied. Here, Duke Johnson takes the pitch and finds Darren Owie behind the defense. That would set up a quick 1-yard touchdown pass from Phillip to Brandon Snell. The Vikings would then take the lead for good with 2:47 remaining when Duke Johnson catches this 4th down pass and dives into the end zone. Final score, Norland 19, Booker T 16. Dre, another disappointing loss for the Tornadoes.
It was a disappointing loss, but at the same time, you talk about Duke, you saw it on that play, you talk about Felipe at quarterback, but the Norland defense deserves a lot of the credit for this win coming from behind in the fourth quarter. They pressured Hay in that quarter. They didn't let him move around the way he normally likes to do. They got a couple of sacks, and they're the ones that kept the Vikings in it long enough to win. And here's a victorious Norland coach, Daryl Heidelberg, after the game.
I mean, for us to come out and beat them in their home field, I got to give hats off to my kids and my coaches. I think they got us prepared. I could never take all the credit for this.
All right, let's zip through a few more playoff highlights. We start Southridge taking on Braddock Friday night at Tropical Park. Pick up the action in the second quarter with my Bulldogs up 14-7. That lead just wouldn't last. Southridge would score 22 points in the second quarter. Here, Andrew Johnson hooks up with U.S. Army All-American Gerard Holloman for a 37-yard touchdown pass. Southridge would miss the extra point, but they'd score plenty more. Here, Holloman takes the handoff and pulls the old halfback pass. Todd Bush would come down with it in the end zone. 20 yards later, Southridge up 21-14. The pain for Braddock would continue. Andrew Johnson escapes the pocket and says, Holloman, can you block that guy for me? 14 yards later, we go into the half with Southridge up 29-14. Johnson would finish the night by finding Holloman again for another touchdown. All in all, Johnson, 158 yards passing, 82 yards rushing. Southridge rolls 50-14.
Central taking on Miami High in what was the first playoff game for the Stingerees since 2004. The Rockets weren't very nice to them. We pick up the highlights in the first quarter as Rakeem Cato opens the scoring with a 25-yard touchdown pass to Charles Gaines, 7-0 Rockets. It would be 14-0 moments later when Devontae Freeman fakes out the Sting's defense on his way to a 14-yard touchdown run. Central would score 28 points in the first quarter, including another 7 on this play when linebacker Dwight Jackson blocks a punt and follows the bouncing ball into the end zone. Freeman would then score on this 31-yard touchdown run. He'd finish with 83 yards on the night on only 6 carries. Now that's some efficiency. Miami High's special teams woes, meanwhile, would continue. This second quarter punt to Tommy Schuler turns into a 54-yard dash to the end zone. The touchdown would make it 35-0. The final would be Central 55, Miami 0. By the way, Manny, the Rockets have 5 shutouts this season and haven't given up a point in the last 13 quarters. Over their last 3 games, opposing teams have only 253 yards of total offense and 5 turnovers.
That's some good defense. All right, Cypress Bay taking on Crop, and you just knew the Lightning were going to win. We pick up the action in the first quarter when our camera guy gets faked along with Crop's defense. Cypress Bay's Danny Epstein rumbles down to the 3-yard line. The play would set up Epstein's 8-yard touchdown run. Cypress Bay would run for 203 yards in the win. Quarterback Geronta Lewis would throw for 198 yards as well. Here he connects with Mario Panunzio. 50-yard gain would set up Joey Stanley's 7-yard touchdown run that would make it 14-0 in the second quarter. Cypress Bay's lead would grow to 21-zip on this Danny Epstein 19-yard run. Matt Days would then finish it, make it 28-0 when he hauled in this 35-yard touchdown pass from Lewis. Cypress Bay would go into the half up 28-0 and win 37-zip.
Undefeated University took on Chaminade in the Class 2B playoffs. We pick up these highlights in the first quarter when University quarterback Douglas Cook puts the Suns up with this 6-yard touchdown run to put them up 7-0. Chaminade answers when running back Kurtrick Evans takes the handoff and rumbles into the end zone from 5 yards out. But the Suns would answer with a pair of Cook touchdown passes. Here he finds Nicholas Kutcher for one of his 4 catches, this one 30 yards for a 14-7 lead after the first quarter. It would turn into a 21-7 lead when Cook connects with McGarrett Kings from 12 yards out. Evans would answer with a 9-yard touchdown run, but the Suns would go into the half 28-13 ahead when Cook finds Jordan Cunningham on this 15-yard touchdown pass. Cook finished with 289 yards on 20 of 28 passing. Chaminade would score late on this 8-yard touchdown pass from freshman Sean White to Fred McRae, but it just wasn't enough as the Suns improved to 11-0 with a 28-19 victory.
Time to fast forward. We started with 21 teams from Broward and 18 from Dade. Now we're down to 11 from Broward and 8 from Dade. We start small, Andre. Class 2B playoffs, unbeaten University at unbeaten Monsignor Pace. Who are you taking?
It's the best matchup, I think, this weekend in terms of 2 teams that really, have surprised a lot of people with how dominant they've been this year. University has had everything going for them in the last few weeks, but they have a hostile environment to go to down there at Pace. It's going to be packed. And I know Pace wants me to make them the underdog, but it's kind of hard when they're dominating this much. I think I'm going to go with the Spartans. I'm sorry, Alvin Slaughter. No free motivation from this table.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Andre. I'm going with Pace. They'll win because they're at home. And University, man, great season. All right, we move on to Class 2A where I picked Glade Central to lose last week to Gibbons. That didn't happen. Now American Heritage gets to host Glade Central this week. Dre, your pick.
Last week, people have the right to call us crazy for going with Gibbons, although Gibbons hung in there, and I think that's a sign. They were in Belle Glade. Now you take that Glade Central team out of their environment. Sony Michelle is the hot hand right now over at Heritage. I'm going to call it again. I think Heritage will do the job that Gibbons couldn't finish.
Wow. I like Sony Michel, but I'm not going to pick against Glade Central twice. All right, Class 3A was a little wacky last week, to say the least. Archbishop McCarthy picked up its first playoff win ever at Westwood. Now they get Merritt Island, who knocked off Hollandale, the team that beat McCarthy for the district title. Who are you taking?
Well, I mean, McCarthy kind of, was a little upset at being the underdog last week. They went up there, took it out on Westwood, but until they come home, if they come home this week with a victory, that's when they won't be the underdog to me. I think Merritt Island's a very athletic team, and it's going to be hard for them to do it again.
Yeah, I agree. Merritt Island is not an easy place to win a game. They'll win the ball game. All right, here's a big one. Norland, fresh off its upset of Booker T, gets Belen. Where's your heart in this one?
Twisted as much as it was in the regular season meeting, but I don't know. I mean, I would love to say that Heidelberg and the boys can get it done because they've had a great season, a lot of improvement at Norland, but every time you think Belen's not going to win, they pull it off. So I think I'm going to pick the Wolverines close.
Coach Berg, I'll be interviewing after the game when you win. I've got a feeling Norland's got a special run on them. I'm picking the Vikings again. All right, time for Class 4A. Hollywood Hills looked impressive in their 45-3 win over Okeechobee. Dre, do the Spartans actually have enough to beat Dwyer this week at Dwyer?
They've had a great year, great turnaround. We've talked about Donaldson at running back, but I mean, Dwyer's a monster, and they'll fare a little better than Stranahan did, but still on the road, tough place to play.
Yeah, I agree with you. Dwyer's going to be too much for them. Time for Class 5A. Boyd Anderson and Ely meet in a rematch of an ugly regular season game. Dre, do the Cobras get revenge, or do the Tigers move on?
It's one of those things where historically, Ely has had the upper hand here in the last couple of meetings. They've struggled a little bit lately, which kind of leaves the door open for possibly Boyd Anderson to finally step up. But I'm going to go with Blanche. I think Ely could still pull it off. I mean, I think when they've had times where they've struggled this year, they've come up with the big win. I think they'll do it again this time.
I'm believing in the Cobras. They should have won the first meeting, and I think they're going to win the second time. Cooper City taking on St. Thomas Aquinas. Your thoughts?
Great year. All congratulations go to Cooper City for everything they've been able to do to turn this program around. But again, Aquinas, a monster of a team, and there's no reason to think at home that they're going to let it stop this week.
You're absolutely right. Raiders will roll. We move up to Class 6A. Miramar almost lost last weekend to Deerfield Beach. Will they get it together at Northeast?
It's not going to be easy because Donnell Bennett and his guys have done a great job this year to turn things around, but Miramar is one of those experienced teams with a guy like Damon Cogdell, a coach that knows how to win these big games. I'm going to trust the Patriots one more week to get it done.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm sticking with the defending champs as well. They'll advance at least one more round. North Miami Beach will travel up to Cypress Bay. This is a tough game to pick, too.
Absolutely. I mean, Cypress Bay, great job. They're at home. Richie Desir and the Chargers, though. You got to watch out for them. They've done a great job, too. Go with it. NMB.
Wow. NMB's going on me as well. I'm going to take the Chargers this week. South Ridge and South Dade will face each other in a regular season rematch. Do the Spartans finally have it together, Andre? Can they finally beat the Bucks?
Well, I was there for the first game that they played, and it was a total mismatch. Southridge could get nothing done on offense. I don't think that'll be the case in this meeting because they have figured it out by putting Andrew Johnson at quarterback. But South Dade has been this good this season for a reason. Their defense is tough. They know how to pull out close games, and I think they will this week.
Sticking with the Bucks. I'm going with South Ridge here. I think Holloman and Johnson are two of the best players in Dade County. They're special. They're going to find a way to win. All right, last but not least, Northwestern taking on Central. Dre, I think this might be the most exciting Bulls-Rockets matchup of all time.
It very well could be. I mean, they're expecting a sellout by Wednesday. That shows you how much excitement there is. They're going to play it at Traz, both teams in their own backyard. I think I kind of gave it away already by what I did at the beginning of the show, but only because right now I honestly believe this team is unified with all the drama they've had off the field. I think it's brought them closer together, and I believe in those teams of destiny when it all comes together, especially when they have a special player like Teddy Bridgewater. But it could go Central's way if they give it to Devontae Freeman enough. We'll see.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
But you're not going to do a pick?
Dre, I don't know where you've been, but I picked Teddy Bridgewater at Northwestern before even that newspaper came out.
Okay, well, just making sure they know.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.